record here. Now it says that we're recording as well. Hi, it's David Belfer here in Melbourne town on the 4th of January, 2021, together with Robert Lawrence Friedman, who is still on the 3rd of January, 2021, not 2020. He's in New York. You can see it's dark where he is. It's light where I am. So paradox, explorations. And as you can see, if I move over, it says we're on episode 10. Congratulations, Robert. We've made it to episode 10.
Congratulations.
How are you, my friend?
Okay. So how am I?
Tell me how you really feel.
So, okay. So why we're talking about frustrations is I had asked David. It's okay if I share this, David?
Oh yeah, I think it's hilarious. Go for it.
Okay, great. So I had asked David for the email address that his Zoom was on. He said, "Well, it's from a previous email, so you'll need to find it." I said, "Okay." So first I looked under his name, and I couldn't find any under Gmail or this other account that he has. So then I said, "Okay, well, then I can't find it. Can you tell me what it is?" And then what you did, of course, was then give me my email address, which really didn't help me because I know what my email address is. So then, and as this is going on, I'm feeling myself get more and more actually stressed, frustrated, because I just wanted some assistance, support just to get your email. And then so finally you did say what it was, but I could feel my frustration growing. And I thought that this could be a really interesting topic of what happens when we have maybe expectations. So the easiest thing, of course, would have been simply sending me a link, and then I would have come on as I've done. But then no. So the other possibility is, okay, you asked me to find your email. And of course, there I am looking for your email, couldn't find it. Then I asked you for help, and I, didn't get it at first. So you just tell me my email. That didn't help. And as it's happening, my stress and frustration are going up. And so I'm wondering, how this plays into what's happening in our world, right? Because I think people are frustrated, or some people are frustrated by what's happening in the world. Some people do get stressed. Yes, I realize that Stress Solutions is my company, but the reality is what is it? We teach that which we most need to know, and the reality is that I believe that we all are stressed. And yes, I could go off and I can meditate, but I think it's better to just talk about it, which of course is another way of dealing with stress. And so I want to acknowledge you for being willing to talk about this, because this is very present, very here, very real. And so I wonder how people are feeling frustrated. Are there people feeling frustrated? Are there people feeling stressed now about what's going on in your life? Do you set yourself up for expectations? Could I have done something differently? Sure. Could I have arranged to look it up and know exactly what I was doing even before the call? Of course I could have. That was my responsibility. But what's happened is I've gotten used to you just sending me the link. So today you didn't send me the link. Okay. And so then I had to look for it. What?
Time out. That was a monologue. That was amazing. That was like, holy shit, I'm frustrated. And the great thing about being frustrated is when you say you're frustrated, all of a sudden it starts to dissipate in my feeling.
Right. That's true.
Now, I'm frustrated because I've had a phone that's been ringing incessantly. I've got a guy that's out in my backyard building a deck. My son's walking in and just making noises everywhere. And all of these things where it's meant to be quiet and the kettle. And bless you, Robert. And bless you.
Thank you.
And there's dust around and all this sort of stuff. And you know what? It doesn't really matter. to me.
Well,
But I
right.
acknowledge the fact that you were con, I'm not going to say confused, but when it was funny because when you said what email did you send it to, that's what email, and I went to your email, so I sent your email thinking you asked me where did I send it, and then you said which one from, and I went, oh, I don't know. I've got about 10 different emails, and it just depends upon which one's on the link. And so I do
I see.
apologize for that level of frustration, of 4 minutes of frustration. It's not much more than that. I would hope not anyway. So let's start off by saying I acknowledge your frustration and I apologize for causing such stress in your life.
So, okay, so thank you, and so thank you for that, and I think it's true, right? So I have, and I'll do this one short, but in sharing and teaching about stress, one of the things I do talk about is that the research shows that when you talk about it, when you talk about an emotion, when you use even just a few words, as you were saying, it does release the emotion. It does. And then trying to fake it though, right? Trying to say, no, I'm fine. No, I'm totally fine.
You know
Even
what
though,
fine stands for.
even though, hold on to that thought. So even though I may look happy and fine, you'll tell me what that stands for. Internally, my my limbic system, is actually even more aroused, more stressed. So thank you for that. And what does FINE stand for?
You ready?
Sure.
Put your fingers up with me. F, freaked out. I, insecure. N, neurotic. And E, emotional. But other than that, I'm okay. That's what FINE stands for. It's an acronym, anagram. I'm not sure what that is. So I have a question for you, though. Since we've
Sure.
been online and laughing, or me laughing, and that could be frustrating. Bless you. That could be frustrating as well. How often does it happen when you might be stressed, or when a person bless you? That's enough. No more. That's my son sneezing in the background. You're sneezing, he's sneezing. The dog will start barking, I guarantee, in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
How
So
often does it
laughter. Yeah.
happen when
Yeah. So
somebody
laugh.
is stressed and then somebody thinks that it's funny, or somebody thinks that it's unnecessary, or there's that old book, Don't Stress the Small Stuff. But something that's small to one is often a mountain to another. So how do you deal with that situation when something comes out and it's small to me but huge to you? That's where a lot of conflict lies, I would imagine.
I mean, for me, if I sense that someone uh, perceives something differently than I do, I tend to be empathetic and sensitive to them. So, it's the person that has the higher emotional reaction that needs the most support, right? From a psychodynamic level. So for me, it's just I try to be sensitive to them. Not to say that you weren't, because actually your laughter helped me kind of view it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Right, right. Because I shifted out of it, maybe by talking about it, maybe by laughing. So I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong, but this is what I do.
Mm.
I basically, like I said, share what I share. So, but I want to broaden this a little bit, because
Okay.
how it's not really about me and it's not about you, right? For me, it's how does all this apply to what's happening in the world? How does this apply to people's experience? Are people frustrated? Are people stressed out? Do they find that maybe the small things seem much larger because there's so much angst about COVID? There's a dear friend of mine had a situation. I don't want to name names, but where COVID hit home, very very close to home. I mean, home actually, And just having a family meeting where none of us have been really affected by COVID, but you hear about it, especially in the U.S., all these deaths, and as long as it's not us that's feeling it, it's like, oh, it's them, it's their experience. But then what
I
happens all of
understand.
a sudden? It's your mom, your dad, someone close to you. So I think people are. I think people can be experiencing some frustration and stress, and so
Mm,
what can we do, or how can we support them?
I understand that. I do understand that because in Melbourne, in our state again, we've been locked down again. We've been shut out of other states because we opened up our borders for the first time in 6 months. And some folk from the state above us, New South Wales, where Sydney is, came into Melbourne and brought COVID with them.
Mm.
And it's funny because, so literally within, it should have happened 3 weeks ago. They should have shut us down 3 weeks ago, or actually not opened up the borders. But they did, thinking that we're all right. They seem all right. However, we're not. So they changed the rules on New Year's Eve, where people had arranged to have 30 people at their homes. They were allowed to have 30, and then it was cut to 15 instantly.
Wow,
So
wow,
from 5 p.m., it was cut to 15. And people that were in other people's homes had to wear a mask. If you're in your own home, you don't have to, but other people did have to.
right, makes sense.
Whereas an hour before, you didn't have to. So all of these changes occurred instantly. So that can be frustrating. And that's because of 3 cases. You're talking
Wow,
300,000 cases.
yeah, it's
So,
true.
it's
It's true.
really interesting because we're talking about the magnitude of something. And our country or our state has gone, shut the doors, bang, straight away, or a bit late, but shut the doors. And it's frustrating for some. It's frustrating immensely for my daughter because she's been home since Christmas Day. It's been lovely to have her back. She was in Western Australia in Perth with her partner for a month prior, and now they can't go and see each other. And they'd made plans for at the end of this month to be able to go, but WA has shut down everything. Anyone from anywhere can't get in at the moment.
Wow, wow,
And
wow.
they've got no cases, but that's how they've got no cases. They don't let them
Yeah.
in. So
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, truth be told, sorry, I think that that needs to happen more here. I
mm,
think that kind of strictness needs to happen because I think that people are going to be reticent about working, about going to places, about you know trying to live their life if they know that this is out there. So,
mm.
I mean, I kind of commend you actually for that. I mean, not
I'll,
you,
I'll
but
take that on for the whole of Australia. All 25 million of us. I thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. I do appreciate it. Now, I had a frustration this week. Would you like to hear about my frustration?
sure, sure. What was your frustration?
My frustration is in this package. You see this? It's a TNT package. You ready?
Yeah, but I don't know what TNT is.
All right, it's a courier package. Look at this. Can you see
Okay,
what it
what is it?
says?
It
It
says,
says
let's see, it's a
all
dog.
road boots. These are dog shoes. Right?
Okay,
And
so
the
tell me about
size
your frustration about dog shoes.
I have a frustration about dog shoes. My poor dog needs to walk and he's finding it very difficult to get up on our wooden floors. So these have wonderful bits of that look like breasts. I shouldn't do that. These look like these have things to walk on, pads to help him get up. Now, my dog is big. This says large on the box. They're the size for a chihuahua. Now, when I first got them, I was frustrated, but then I couldn't stop laughing. So I put them back online today, literally today, and within 20 minutes of having them online, I had people calling me or messaging me to say how much or what size are they. And I said, what size dog have you got? And one of them said, well, I've got a golden retriever. I said, so do I. They're not for you. And so, I was able to not have that person become frustrated. It would have been funny because I could imagine these shoes going around the world 20 times before they get to the right dog that needs them.
It's very, very funny.
It was.
Yeah. So actually, I've got a story about something similar to that.
Okay.
Would you mind holding on just one moment?
I'll hold these up so people can see. Now, fortunately, they are already sold. I'm sorry, there was a gentleman by the name of something or other. He tried to say, if it doesn't go through, I'll buy them. But the payment has just arrived, so sorry. Now, while Robert's away, let's talk about him and his level of frustration. Oh, he's back. Let's talk frustration. Oh, is this an Amazon frustration?
This is well, okay. So my wife decided she wanted to give me a refrigerator for my office.
For your office.
Yeah, but the only thing was that anyway, it came, and this is actually it. And
lovely.
It's actually so small. Because if I open it up, you can see that it's so small that there's actually nothing you could put inside of it. There's nothing. I mean, I can't even put my glasses in it. See, it's this small. So nothing. Well, maybe my glasses. I might want to put I'm considering putting my glasses on ice. That's what I'm thinking about. So,
could you put a can of Coke in it?
No, it won't fit. No, one can won't fit. It's actually, yeah. So if I actually take this, see, it still
doesn't fit.
Doesn't fit. It doesn't fit.
That's hilarious.
So, but anyway, so we were just trying to figure out what to do with it, and anyway, so it's sitting here, and
I would put it back online again and say, small person's fridge.
Right. That's yeah.
Or you could put it on somebody saying, do you have a dog that needs a fridge?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that it might be good for a Chihuahua.
What we should do is the next week we should do this call where we actually have the small things in life. How can we make them bigger? If you rub it on its tummy, will it grow? Try it. Rub its front. And while you're rubbing it, I'll go and get my next small thing. Our small items that we can make big. You can talk about me now.
So anyway, as we were discussing, question is how do we expand our thinking? So let's say this is a reflection of our thinking, the way we think. Can you expand the way you think so that it's a bigger refrigerator? Okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
You see that?
Yes. Yeah, it's a doorway. Is it? And what does it hold meaning?
It does. I bought 370 of them, and I was giving them to my clients as a Christmas present. It's a fairy door.
Okay, you want to explain? You want to share? You want to share what that means?
Can you see this as well?
Yes, I can see that.
This is a little packet of fairy dust.
Okay, and you want to share what that's all about?
Well, when you go and sprinkle fairy dust on a fairy door that you've gone and put into your garden somewhere, or put into your house, or under your bed, or where you think that fairies live, does the door expand or does it stay the same?
Yeah, is that
I've had many people try and open the door, and I say to them, you can't open it. You're not a fairy. So there's lots of different things that occur when it comes to having little things that have much bigger concepts or meanings behind them.
That's great. So it's my turn, huh?
No, we don't have to search for small things now, because really that means that we're clutching at straws. I've got a small Oricana over here. Do you know what an Oricana is?
Actually, this is a nice small drum that I use. And this is what I use for. No, tell me what your Oricana is, actually. So is that an Australian bird?
No, it's an Oricami bird.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
My
So maybe I
friend Guy
should.
Gross gave this to me. Shall we?
So
Shall we
let's
jam?
let's do about a minute of that, shall we?
Oh,
Nice. That was interesting. That
I
was
wish
very
we
interesting.
could be in a band. So this is a one long-nosed, one-footed bird that my friend, who was my best man, gave me. Oh, I don't even know when I got it, but we found it in cleaning out some things, and subsequently it has found its way into our house again. I'm very happy to have found it. Have you had the
So
experience where you've found lots of new things when you were just out of the blue? You didn't know they
I
were there?
do. Those are fun. Yeah, those are fun.
Hmm.
Um, so tell me, David, I'm in New York. You're in the other side of the world. You're in
Melbourne.
Western Australia, Melbourne.
No,
No,
Eastern Australia.
Eastern Australia. See, I don't know. I've never been there. Never been to Australia. So, so tell me one thing about where you live that is very, very unique.
That is the easiest thing to do. That is so simple. And any Melbourner or Victorian would be able to answer this in an instant like that. We have all 4 seasons in one day in Melbourne regularly. It can be hot and it can be cold and it can be snowing and it can be raining and it can be hailing and then it can be bright sunshine and rainbows and hot again all in one day. And that's in the middle of winter or summer. It doesn't matter.
Really? That's
Yes,
amazing.
we
That's
have
amazing.
very, very variable rain or rain patterns and weather patterns, and it's fun.
Wow.
How's that?
Wow. That's great. Would you like to hear one thing that's unique about where I live?
No.
Okay, I'll share it anyway.
Wait,
So
I'll ask
I,
the question.
yeah,
Robert, could you share one thing that's really unique about where you live?
sure. I'll be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Um, so I live in Queens, New York,
Hmm.
which is one of the five boroughs.
Hmm.
And what they say about Queens is that it has every single culture of the world here in Queens. Within a mile distance of me, we have people from Asia and Africa and Australia and Korea and I mean, every culture in the world is here in Queens. And so, what's lovely about Queens is that you can go just a mile or two and actually get really authentic food from these different places around the world.
Well, well, Melbourne is a melting pot as well. We've spoken about that before, I think in episode number 3 or something like that, where we spoke about Australia being such a young country
Mm.
that everyone that is actually in Australia that is not Indigenous is an immigrant from somewhere other than here. Otherwise, we would all be dark skinned. We'd all be, well, it'd be an amazing place to be if everyone was Indigenous. But we are all Indigenous because we've all, we're multiple generations thereof. But Australia is a country that is less than 250 years young in regard to the current populace and the current range of people that are here. And, I feel that we are blessed as well in that same way where you say that you've got all of the different cultures and religions and everything, all within the we call it within cooey of here. Have you ever heard the word cooey?
No,
You go like this, cooey.
actually, it's too late here to do that. To be honest, it's 10 o'clock at night. I live in an apartment building. Couldn't do it.
You could do that. You could do it quietly. You can go cooey.
Okay, fine. Coo-wee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what that is a way that people used to go out in the bush and find each other.
I see. Okay.
So another way of doing that would have been the imlake.
Yes. I understand that one. Of course.
Imlake, alake. So, it was just a way of being found if you were lost as well. So, so there's a colloquialism that says, it's within cooey of here, you can find everything, or you can find this, or you can find that. So there you go. They're trying to give each other some new colloquialisms. Give me a New York colloquialism.
New York colloquialism. Sure. So
that would be it. Sure.
You talking to me is a New York one.
Is it?
Hey, yo, you talking to me?
Yo.
That's a New York one. Yo,
all right.
You talking to me?
I got that one. You talking to me?
Actually, I'm gonna hit you so hard, I'm gonna kill your whole family. That's a New York. Well, that's
one that I don't want to meet the person that normally says that one. That's good. That's fine. I'm gonna hit you so hard.
Actually, that's. I think there was a comedian that said that. It wasn't. It's not New York colloquialism. Yeah, it was a comedian, and I'm not sure how many people actually laughed at it. So,
I'm so excited that you're laughing at it, that you found that funny.
Yeah, it's contagious. Your laughter is contagious. It's true. So when you were a child, tell me one thing that you loved to do. What's like? Do you have a toy or a game or something that you like to play in Australia?
A toy or a game that we like to play in Australia?
That you like to play?
That I like to play? Well, look, there's many different things that I like to play. However, wow, that's an interesting question, because I've always had a very, very vivid imagination, as you know. And I think I grew up with a panda. But that's
a real panda?
Everyone's got a panda in Australia. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I grew up with a panda, and everyone else had a bear. And that's one thing. But I'm just thinking of games. See, in the days of old, when I was young, I'm wanting to find out specifically how young is old. Because I have many different things.
Right, I get that. You know? So let's say around 12 to 14.
Girls.
So okay, how about 8 to 10, 8 to 12 then?
8 to 12. Predominantly music and acting and
interesting.
And drama things. I wasn't, and backgammon. I was taught to play backgammon at 4 years old, and it took me till I was about 9 to be able to beat the person that taught me, because I just used to think that it was for fun. But then I realized that there's actually a killer instinct that one needs to have, which I must say I've never lost when it comes to backgammon. And so,
you've never lost?
No, I lose all the time. but that's the fun of it, you know. I play in different ways every time that I play. But there is the killer instinct was something that I never understood as a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old. I played soccer as well as a team sport, and from the age of 10 till I was probably 15, which I loved. And I don't think that that's as a team sport. What else was there? Squash I used to play. There's many different things sports-wise. I also was a competitive cyclist for a while as a teenager.
Wow.
So there's some of the things, but I think the thing that probably put an end to Jess, can you watch that after? Thank you. The thing that probably put an end to most of those things was that first game that I said.
Okay. Did you have hobbies growing up?
Girls.
Girls? Really? Really?
Yes, absolutely. I was involved with the youth movement from quite young, from 9, 10 until I was still left to become a hairdresser. So for 6 years, I was very involved with that group, which I loved. We used to have camps, and we'd go on youth movement camps in the summer and in winter, and we'd have my best friends still to this day come from that. And so it was an area where, we I'm talking about the late 70s into the early 80s. There was lots and lots of partying that happened, and lots of strange things that used to occur at those parties, and it was very natural oriented, if you know what I mean. And people were very natural as well. And yeah, it was fun. What about you, Robert? You're 10 years older than me, I think.
So I went to a camp when I was, God, I think it was around 12, 11, 12, maybe 12, yeah. And it was French Woods Festival of the Musical Arts.
French Woods Festival of the Musical Arts.
And it was there that I remember I met this girl, and I remember I made her laugh. Like every day we would meet, I'd make her laugh, and she'd laugh and laugh and laugh. And then I said goodbye to her, went home, and about a week or two after getting home, I got a love letter from her, a card, a love is card. And it was one of the most exciting things. And she would actually send me these love cards every single week. Really, really, really beautiful. So that was, anyway, so that was for me in terms of camps. I really loved that experience. In terms of games, I did play games. I know you mentioned sports, but I loved games like Scrabble, or there's a game that we had called Knock Hockey. Are you familiar with that?
Not cocky.
No, it's knock hockey. Knock hockey.
Not cocky.
No.
Not cocky. Knock hockey.
Right.
Is it Japanese?
That is correct. No,
it's a Japanese game.
It's actually a board game where you play with a stick and a little puck, and it's
hockey.
About a 6-foot thing with 2 holes, and you have to try to get into the hole with a little puck using a little stick. It was so much fun because you had to angle it just perfectly to get into the hole. And
what's the table that blows air up onto it?
Kind of like that, except without the blowing. I mean, the same thing. None of that. I had many hobbies growing up. I collected stamps. I collected coins. I made models. I really loved making models, car models and plane models and ship models.
Did you ever make a truck?
Never made a truck, no, but I loved making these models. I read comic books. I had a ridiculous amount of Archie comics, 1,500 by the time I was like 16 years old, 15 years old. And I was not a good businessman at that time. I sold them for like a penny each. It was probably the worst thing I could have done at that age. But I have $15. Isn't that great? So anyway, I had lots. Did you have any hobbies growing up?
Yes, I had many hobbies. Business was a hobby. I've always been entrepreneurial.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I had my first job when I was 10. I was delivering newspapers, and then I started selling. We had lotto tickets at the news agency. So after my rounds, I'd get back and I'd get there at about 5:15 in the morning, and I'd do my round. And if somebody hadn't arrived yet to do their round, then I'd take theirs and go out, because for some reason I had this belief in my head that you needed to have your morning paper before 7 o'clock. because Dad used to leave for work often, not much after, and he'd like to take the paper with him. So I don't know whose bloody belief it was, and it was the most ridiculous belief, but I had it. And then after I'd gone and pinched somebody else's around, literally I'd pinch it. I'd say, they've got to go out. They've got to be out. I'd then go and sit in the shop and work in the shop for, I don't know, half an hour or something like that, greeting customers and putting through their lotto tickets on the old tills where you go, chuk, 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 and you'd push or you'd hit the total with your fist, the back of your fist. I used to love doing that. Ka-ching, bling, and the thing would open up and do change. That was fun. I used to, as a very young child, I've got beautiful memories of hanging out with my grandfather. You know, my warrior name is Beowulf. So Wolf was my grandfather that used to be a market stayer. So a market stayer is he used to have a market stall. And I think he gave me my love of early mornings because he used to be up very, very early so he could go and travel wherever he needed to go to set up his stall. He used to sell women's skirts. And he had a manufacturing plant, or he would purchase wholesale and sell them at the markets around Victoria. And you know, I would often get up if I was staying at their place, which was probably once a week. I would stay there on a Friday night or a Saturday, and we would get up and have breakfast in the kitchen together. And this is like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he'd make tea, and he would hold his cup on the top of his palm, on the fist like that, and he'd drink his tea like that. So I used to do that because that was cute. And then he'd make me toast, and he'd make me dippy eggs. You know what dippy eggs are? Soldier toast. So you'd cut up your toast into little strips, and we'd have dippy eggs, so soft boiled eggs. And we dip them in, and he'd call them soldiers because he'd put Vegemite, which is a wonderful, well, I like it. I'll send you some Vegemite so you can experience it. I won't tell you about it, but we used to put that at the top of the piece of half of the bread, and we'd dip it in, and it would be like, he'd call it soldiers because it would make the top of the toast look like a busby. You know what a busby is? You know, the Queen Elizabeth, how she has her soldiers that stand out the front, and they've all got these funny big hats.
Mm-hmm.
Now their heads are not that long underneath there. I just want to let you know they don't have heads that are that long.
Thank you for sharing.
That's my pleasure. But they're furry hats, and so they used to look like that. So back to my hobbies. One of the funnest things that I used to do is I would go out and start the truck. And I'm talking as a 7 or an 8-year-old boy, even younger, 6, 7, 8. I'd go and he used to have this old van, which was from the 50s. And this is in the 70s. And wonderful memories. And so you'd have to pull the choke up, like pull the choke, pull the choke, pull the choke. And you'd have to push the accelerator 3 or 4 times to get the stuff flowing in it, and I wasn't allowed to turn the key, but I was allowed to do the other bits. And yeah, so that was a fun thing. That was a hobby, gardening with him. I learned many, many of my early life lessons with my grandfather. So I'm very blessed about that. And I'll often tell my kids that I can't wait to become that grandfather as well. Mind you, they're very young. They're not ready. There's lots and lots and lots of different things, Robert, that I used to do as hobbies. So music as well. I started to learn the piano and play guitar at the age of 10. Musical theatre, writing songs. Then I started playing the cornet or the trumpet at high school because I used to play up a lot at school. I used to be so that was a hobby. So I used to like the attention, I think, of getting in trouble. I'm not sure which it was, but we did it a lot. I spent a lot of time did you ever get in trouble at school?
No.
Never? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next week. So anyway, that wasn't a hobby to get into trouble, but it was just, I think it was boredom. There were many different things that occurred. What about you? Tell me more about your comic collection that you let go for a penny? What else did you acquire and let go for so little?
What else did I acquire and let go? No, I think that was the big one right there. I mean,
Mm.
that was I think I learned the lesson after that experience, actually, never to do that again.
Tell me about your
Um,
coin collection. What were you collecting?
yeah,
International
I
coins
love.
or?
No, they were all U.S. coins, but I had these blue books that had little holes for the quarters and the pennies and the dollars and the half dollars, and so I would you know get all this change from the bank or from my family and just look at each one and look at the date and look to see if there's any anomalies or
You got
yeah,
any
it's really.
silver dollars?
I do have silver dollars. Um, I really love collecting stamps. I really love collecting stamps from other countries. And the country Czechoslovakia always fascinated me because of the way it was spelled. CZ. I mean, it was just like amazing that it was spelled that way. Um, but I love the colors of stamps. I love the way that different countries had stamps in terms of sizes and shapes and the vividness of it and how each country had stamps that were very relative to that particular country, in terms of animals in the country or birds from the country, or it was just. So I remember getting mint sheets where it was an entire sheet, or collecting them on the day that they come out and getting them stamped. But it's funny how we go through these different phases in life, right? I mean, because if I think about making a model now, I just can't imagine it. If I think about collecting stamps, I can't imagine it. But there were periods of my life where I was so into stamps, so focused on them, so focused on coins, uh, or making models, and um, and yet this is another phase, right? It's like we have all of these different phases, and now I'm in my this phase, whatever this is. So
What are you
uh,
gathering now, Robert?
dust. I gather dust, lots of dust. Um, for me, it's these days are it's about using creativity to make curriculums, to build courses, to drum, to learn more about drumming, my art, um, to to explore how I can use my tools to help people. That's what it's become. I mean, it's really become about how can I, and that's how it really was become. It's really just watching the evolution of my life, how each thing led to the next. Even the exploration of the coins was about detail. Stamps was about understanding all the different countries I was going to be visiting, and their uniqueness and their specialness. Drums became my way of communication for and helping individuals express their emotions and feelings, and so it's really really interesting watching how the work that I did early on contributed to the person that I became. How do you see that for yourself, David?
I think that's amazing how you say that, because I see all of the attention to detail that you have, and that like to you focus on the smaller things to create the bigger things. And I
Mm,
think that's one of the things that I do not do as
mm.
well. I've got better at it as I'm increasing in age. Do you increase in age? Anyway, so um, whereas I am more the opposite of that, and that's
Mm,
probably why we're so good at what we do together, because we are opposites. We're at the opposite end of the earth, and
interesting.
we
That's
both
interesting.
look at things in different levels of depth. You look for the little intricacies, whereas I look at the big things. I look at things wider, and not that you don't. And I now look at the little things that make up the big things. How did the things of my early childhood create me to who I am today? I've always been fun, in the sense of I think I'm funny as well. my, My son and I have, he's started to actually preempt what I'm going to say that's funny. So I know that he's funny as well now. So I'm lucky with that. I don't know if he realizes that. But what else? Energy.
Mm.
That's what it's about for me. I think that I don't think that's changed from a very young age. I've always had abundant energy, and then when I need to stop, my body just tells me and I just stop.
Mm.
So, but there's abundance in that. Um, I've been messy all my life. I don't see. My wife is very much. She likes things very clean, whereas I'm less so. However, when we were at Warrior Camp, my first Warrior Camp, I was sharing with my dear friend Ice Otter. That's his warrior name, Andrew,
Mm.
dear friend. He was the epitome of neat. He's a computer analyst of yesteryear and an amazing investor in many different things, but everything just had to be so. He would have
Mm.
his clothing laid out the night before for the next day, and bed was made, and this was in that position and that position. And as it turned out, over the week that we were together, we switched. It was bizarre.
Interesting.
He
Interesting.
loosened up, and I became tighter in that context. And it was, I think Bridget said one of the things that, "Where's my husband gone?" So, it's when we're able to see and to take on the finer details of others that we may not have within ourselves, or to be able to um, I'm trying to think of the right word, to be able to acknowledge those in others as things that we can see may not be within us.
Yeah, I think that's the essence of relationship. I mean, when people enter into relationships, often it's because either they see in their partner something that they want or they don't have, um, or it complements them in other ways. So, Ram Dass, I don't know if you heard of Ram Dass. Richard Alpert was his original name, from Harvard University, and became Ram Dass. He says that relationships are the hardest growth and challenge that we have in this world because of how each person can trigger in each other aspects of themselves, and often the blind spots that we don't see that we end
Mm.
up projecting onto the other person.
Mm.
So it's like the most valuable, but one of the hardest ways that we can learn to grow is in relationship. But it seems like you have a really extraordinary relationship with Bridget. Sounds like
Oh,
you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful relationship with laughter and connection, and
she's,
definitely a
I'm not going
nice.
to say no because she's right over there at the minute.
Right.
But I
But
agree with you. I think we do have, we've grown a lot. I think our kids became out. We've always been involved in personal development. Our whole relationship has been that. However, I think that the biggest part of our personal development is probably having family, because that's an ever evolving thing. It
you mean
always
children?
changes.
You mean
Children,
children? Children. Yeah.
yeah, and learning and navigating through life with others that, while they're totally dependent, human beings are totally dependent on another for the first year and a half of their life, until they start to be able to do others and other things for themselves, etc. And they never grow up. They're always still your kids. It's like my younger cousin, who's 4 years my junior, is still my younger cousin, but she's so much more. As we all become, is mature the word? As we mature, and those times, those allocations of dates become irrelevant. It's like I have many friends. I think that I look at my client base, and I've got clients that are from 2 years old to 99, everything in between. and I have so much fun with my 80 pluses, I can't tell you. So something in me knows that I'm actually that age at some stage somewhere, or I have been on numerous occasions. And the same as I love being a kid. And so I'm always someone's kid. We're always someone's kid.
It's true.
And being able to embrace that is something that I love. I told you about the time when my daughter and I had the conversation where she says, "When are you going to grow up?" I said, "There's only room for one adult in this conversation, and I think you've taken it." So that's something that I'm aware of, because it's something that I often need to pull myself back and perhaps take on that adult role. So being an adult, Robert, do you like being an adult? I know you love to play.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I do love being an adult. I remember growing up, feeling more mature than my age was, and really looking forward to being older. And now that I'm there, now I'm ready to get younger again.
And that's why I came into your life.
And that's why you came in. Ta-da!
I'll take full responsibility. Mate, we've been going for a long time. It's already 2:30.
Yeah. So, David, I mean, another wonderful call, another wonderful chat.
Glad that I changed your mood, because you were really shitty when we got on.
Oh my God, you really, I mean, you really set us up wonderfully for this program. So, thank you for that.
All right, my friend. Next week, same time, same bat channel.
There you go. Same
It'll
place.
be number 11. We should celebrate. We've got to double digits. You weren't sure we were going to get to 4.
It's true. So, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. David, thank you for sticking around and having some fun. And
my pleasure, Robert. We'll get this out there. I'm sure. I don't know if there's been anyone watching online. There could be. However, if there is, blessings to you all. Happy New Year, as Robert was saying. May it be a year filled with health, love, joy, laughter, success, and cutting of good timbers to build new structures in life. Amen.
Beautiful. Amen. Thank you, David. Cheers.
See you,
Be well, my friend. Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Blessings.